Good morning, live at the waterhole viewers and friends. Oh, we got a nice start here with some fire finches. It's really good to be back. So there's something called Game Ranger Brain where we get confused. And I thought I was going to be back at the end of the month, but actually it was the beginning of the month that I was here and not at the end of the month. So there is a sample of Game Ranger Brain right there. But it's really nice to be back so quickly with you guys. And I hope we have an awesome show. It's a perfect start with these fire finches. My name is Sean Taylor, and I will be with you for the next 2 hours exploring the various waterholes around Africa. So greetings from myself and the Wild Earth Tech team. We hope you all have had the most amazing weekend. And if any of you did anything for Halloween this weekend, I hope it went well. I worked at a fundraiser over the weekend, scaring the life out of people in a maze, which was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed it. So guys, don't forget, we love talking to you. We love answering your questions. We love all the quirky little comments that we get. It makes our day. So please feel free to engage with us on our various social media platforms, as well as sending us a WhatsApp. And we will try and get to your comments or questions. As usual, if I am not sure what is going on, I'll just ignore the question. I'm just joking. I will not do that. I will try and answer it as best I can, or at least do some homework. As you know, some of you know that I do the odd bit of homework if I'm unsure about what is happening. But what is happening currently here in Kenya, in the Great Rift Valley, is a collection of fire finches. And it looks like we have some wax balls there as well. And Jive Bunny, yes, it is me. Thanks so much. It's good to have you joining us. Greetings from sunny South Africa today. I hope the weather is good in the UK, and I hope you guys had a good weekend there. So this is very cool. Now I'm just double checking myself here about that wax ball. I believe it is a common wax ball that keeps dropping in with the various finches that are here. But I'm just double checking myself just to make sure that I don't give you guys the wrong bird, as I have done before. It didn't go down very well. Not just for you guys, but for me too. I hate getting stuff wrong as a guide. It's the worst thing in the world when you are trying to name a bird and you're almost positive it is the bird and you end up being completely and utterly incorrect. And in this day and age, you know, with social media and all the bird apps and the books and all that kind of thing, you cannot get away with fibs because you get caught out very, very quickly. It's something the younger guys figure out very, very fast. So yeah, it's just one of those things being a guide. But there's a lot of finches here that I am not used to at all, guys. There's some definitely fire finches, which I am aware of. But this very blue bird in front here, I actually don't know what that is. I have never seen that bird in my life. So if anybody is able to maybe let me know what that is, if you are aware of it. With it being in East Africa, sometimes it is difficult. It doesn't cover the apps that we use down here. So if you are aware of it, please let me know so that I can find out a little bit. I'm learning too, as we have a beautiful emerald spotted wood dove that has come and saved me. Thank you, emerald spotted wood dove, for coming and saving me from these wax balls. Isn't that beautiful coloration there with that emerald spots? And they have a very, very distinctive call. It's actually one of my favorite calls. Come back, save me. A very, very distinctive call in the wild. It's like I don't want to make the noise because you're going to think your TV broke. But it's very, very distinctive, especially in the summertime when it's really hot. You often hear it calling. What a cool start. I'm really glad we actually started with some birds. This is a nice start to the week, guys. And are you keeping your lists? This is the question. I remember one of my first shows ever with you guys, I spoke about maybe putting together a list. Now, I have been behaving myself. I've even been putting birds down that I'm learning with you guys, although I can't put it on my app. Where would we be without our phones? Let's be honest. Nowhere, it seems. But we have a big variety of fire finches and wax balls flying around here. It's stunning. And they love these fallen down trees. We had some amazing birding. I was in Botswana in May. And we got to drive through sections of Savuti and different little valleys. And these finches love the trees that fall down like this. And have got they have little nests inside the trees. And there's obviously, most of these guys, these birds are grass eaters. So they go for the seeds of the grass. Some of them will feed on small insects as well, but the majority of these guys are your seed eaters. They're the ones in the summertime when the grass gets very high, that they go and they feed on the seeds. Very similar to the red-billed quelea that we've seen flying around from every now and again in those massive big flocks that fly around on screen sometimes. They are the seed eaters of the bush, and they do a very, very, very good job. Who have we got here? Hello, guys. I'm getting lots of hellos. It's really nice to be back, guys. Thanks for all the love. Giselle, you're asking if I can imitate any birds or animals well. So Giselle, my bird calls are pretty shocking. I'm not going to lie. I have gotten quite good over the years of imitating a go-away bird. Not well, but only because when I go shopping with my dearly beloved, she tends to do severe price watch. So she looks at pretty much every product in the shop, and I get bored. So I walk off, and I go look at manly things like headphones and all that kind of things, and things that we stash in our drawers like batteries and whatever. You know what I'm talking about, guys? The man drawer with keys and batteries that we'll probably never use again. Some of them are even flat, but yet there they are in the man drawer. And when I need to find Andrea, I will imitate a go-away bird, to which she comes out into the middle of the aisle and gives me a very disappointed and concerned look. And then I know exactly where she is. And she gets embarrassed, so she comes out into the aisle immediately because she doesn't want me to do it a second or third time. So I can do that. And I can do a lion pretty convincingly, but it has to be at night when people are expecting it. Otherwise, if I do it during the day, people think that I need medical attention. But that's pretty much it, Giselle. Sadly, I'm not very good at imitating animals. I was very good at imitating my teachers at school when they used to moan at me. I was quite good at that, but yeah, that didn't serve me well at all going into my chosen vocation. And Jane Ludlow, thank you so much. Jane is saying good morning to all of us and is saying a new week with lots of possibilities. I hope so, Jane. So we're going to go over to Tembe and go see what is heading over there. Probably elephants, I'm hoping. Otherwise, something is very wrong. Ooh, we have a kingfisher. And I'm just giving it a good look here. Because even though it does look like a brown hooded kingfisher, that is actually a striped kingfisher. that distinctive stripe on the neck there, and then that little bit of blue on the wing there is the telltale sign that it is a striped kingfisher. The brown-hooded kingfisher has got more blue going on its wings and a very distinctive brown stripe through the eye. So thank you, Wild Earth technicians, for moving me over to a bird that I do know and see fairly often. This is very kind of you for saving me. So Rusty, I'll go into some information about, actually Rusty, I'm going to answer your question in a sec. Before this bird flies off, let me just tell you guys a little bit about it, because we don't often see these striped kingfishers. They often get confused with the brown-hooded kingfishers, but that the brown-hooded kingfishers have got, like I said, they are a little bit different. They've got more of a rufous coloration, and they're a little bit taller, a little bit longer, whereas these the striped kingfishers are a little bit stockier. They're like a little bit shorter, look like almost like a young brown-hooded kingfisher. And this is very indicative. You don't see them around the water that often, although there is water around. You don't see them that often around the water. You find them in woodlands. So even though they're called the kingfishers, it is a family, and you get some that you find in the middle of nowhere. And these guys go mostly for insects. So you most of the time will see them feeding on crickets, some locusts, thankfully. I've even seen them feeding on flying ants as well. So they've got quite a varied diet, but mostly insects. So we call them insectivores. I'm hoping it makes a call. And then for those of you that are birders, or at least know what the brown-hooded kingfisher sounds like, you'll hear there's a distinct call, a difference in call between the two of them. Very, very cool. And this will be the height of their breeding season now, October and November. So they will have a nest, and normally they will nest in an abandoned barbet or a woodpecker hole. So barbets, if any of you in South Africa have got those nests, I always forget the name of those nests, but you can actually, there it goes. You get those nests that you can actually strap to the tree to attract barbets to your garden. And those what the striped kingfishers love living in, those kind of nests with a little hollow inside. So they look for trees that have got very similar, and they'll nest in there. Now we're moving over to some animals that have been around far longer than most of us. To our Nile crocodilian friends, they seem to have taken over the hippo pond. The last couple of times here at Camelthorne, that little area over there has been inundated with hippopotamus, and in particular a very, very small hippo, a little baba. But yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest. Once the crocs move in, who wants to go back there? It looks pretty vicious. See, the one's got his head out of the water there. The other ones are catching some rays. Remember, crocodiles are ectothermic, which means that they get their energy from outside sources, namely the sun. So you often see them basking on the banks because they're nocturnal feeders. So they build up all their energy during the day, and then they go hunting at night, predominantly for fish. I love these guys. Absolutely love them. So now, Rusty, I'm going to go back to your question. Sorry, I just was quite intrigued by that striped kingfisher. You're asking, are finches grouped together because of their beak shape? So, Rusty, there will be a level of recognition between all of them in terms of that beak shape. So, you know, animals in the bush have got certain shapes and certain colors that will group, and the birds and animals will group around that. in particular birds with their beak shapes. It does happen like that, but the finches and the fire finches, and even sometimes the sparrow weavers and birds like that, because they feed on very similar things, you'll often find them in the same areas, and thus they seem to be together all the time. But it's just because of the availability of food, the habitat, and safety in numbers. The finches, the weavers, the sparrow weavers, fire finches, all of those birds, they tend to breed around each other, just safety in numbers, because they're under a threat all the time. If it's not a monitor lizard trying to eat them and their eggs, it's snakes coming in, like boomslang, spotted bush snakes, and then black mambas also will come in for the chicks too. And then of course the birds of prey as well also hammer them too. So safety in numbers is always a big thing for animals, especially your smaller animals. And then Theo, you're saying the name go away bird seems very lazy. It is very lazy, Theo. So actually it used to be called the grey lory. That's what it used to be known as in the bird books, but now they call it the go-away bird. So the bird book names change every so often. It can be frustrating. It's a lot easier now. A lot of us guides have got the apps, the birding apps now. And so the one particular app that I've got, it updates. So you pay a yearly fee, but it updates constantly. So you're always up to date with the new names of the birds. So that's not a problem. But when I was guiding before I used the app, I used to get to know the bird names, and then the lists would change, and then guests would come on the vehicle with me, and I would turn around and go, hey, there's a grey lory, or oh, it's a Swainson's Franklin. And they're paging through the book, and they'll be like, we don't seem to have that bird in our book. And you can see on their face, they're like, oh, geez, we've been stuck with a real idiot of a guide. He doesn't even know what that bird's name is. To which I then grab the list and see that there are 3 or 4 birds whose names have changed. And then you can't explain it away. Let's be honest, Theo. When you get caught out like that, you just have to say, oh dear. Because if you say they've changed the name, especially overseas guests, if you go, oh no, I think they changed the name recently, you can just imagine everyone in the cars are going to be like, oh, you're right. Nice try. And David B., you were saying that one bird looked like a blue waxbill. So it did look like a blue waxbill, David, but it wasn't. The blue waxbill's smaller, and it's almost like a baby blue color. That was a different waxbill altogether. I'd actually love to know what bird that was, to be honest with you. Anyway, guys, we're going to move on. I'm sure we'll come back to these crocodilians, and I'll give you some more information at some stage, but we're going to move on now and see what's happening elsewhere. It's bird day. Very cool. We've moved over to Stony Point in the Western Cape, and we've got some white-breasted cormorants that have been, looks like deep diving for fish, and they are now having a nice little sun dry off session. Looks like a beautiful day there on the coast. Stunning day at the coast. Actually looks like South Africa's got all around, actually looks like there's a nice weather system over for once. We've had quite a lot of rain, so I'm actually quite glad that things have sorted out a little bit and things are good. Beautiful birds. They fish mostly, so excuse the stretch and the creaking noise. I'm just closing my window because someone is deciding to drill close to where I'm talking. How dare they interrupt our show? I will be talking to them later. But yeah, they ambush fish under the water, and as you can see, they've got those hooked bills, that they use to grab the fish. So they almost like a cheetah does with its dew claw. They kind of hook it and then are able to kind of take it in. And you can see so the males always have that yellow, but it goes that yellow when they are breeding. So as I'm sure a lot of you know, the birds tend to change colors when they're breeding. So these cormorants, that yellow goes almost like a dark green color when they're breeding. So you know it's their breeding season. But out of the breeding season it stays yellow, which is quite interesting for these guys. But they don't seem too interested in what we have to say. So we're going to move on and go see what else is happening, and we'll come back later. Ah, yes. Our first animal of the show. Well, our first mammal, should I say, of the show. I was enjoying the birding, actually, to be honest with you. We've got some white or square-lipped rhinoceros chillaxing under the tree here in the Eastern Cape, there at Mantis Founders Lodge. And to carry on with the bird theme, it seems to have it's the shape and the way that's standing looks like an oxpecker. I can't see in that shade, but I'm 99% sure that will be a red-billed oxpecker. And what that oxpecker will be doing is just basically looking for ticks and any ectoparasites that will be on that rhino, and taking them off for them, like a little mobile grooming service. And you can see that rhino's ears are moving, listening to everything that's going on. They have a really bad eyesight, but their hearing is first class. So you can just see it's just moving around like 360 degrees trying to pick up what's going on. Moms tend to be very, very protective over their calves, as you can imagine. So like she's checking behind, now she's going up front, and she's just making sure that anything moving around she is going to pick up, and then she'll get up to try and assess the situation. And it's actually, as we try to zoom in there to see what's what, yeah, it is a red-billed oxpecker. Thank you so much, zoomies, for that. Now, what happens sometimes on foot with rhino is you've got to be careful when you're approaching them when it's very windy, or if you're in thick bush. You kind of need to understand how these guys operate in terms of if they hear you coming and they can't see you, the likelihood of them running towards you to try and get a sense, or at least check the shape of what's coming towards them, is quite common. In particular, if there's a male that has been displaced, so has had a big fight and has been moved out of a territory, or might be injured, and certainly a female with a calf. And sometimes that is actually misconstrued as a charge. So you actually need to be aware that they do this, and try very hard to avoid it happening. As we moved over to Tau, so yeah, you've got to be very careful with rhino. The white or square-lipped rhinoceros are fantastic to approach on foot. They're very, very not resilient. That's not the word I'm looking for, but they're accepting of your presence as long as they know where you are. And they will often make it known if they are unhappy with you being there, and in which case you can move out, as you should always have an escape route. But just got to be aware of how because sometimes they'll run towards you and you get a fright, and not just you as a guide, but your guests. If you've got 3 tons, 4 tons of rhino running towards you, it doesn't really help as a guide saying, "Oh, don't worry, they just want to come see you," when it's barreling towards you. So you've always got to be aware. As we see a big, looks like it looks about 2 or 3 different herds of wildebeest move through here. And you see this one having a drink on his on his elbows here. Very cute. But yeah, that's generally that you don't get that bigger size of wildebeest herds. So that's probably, I would say, maybe two herds of buffalo that have come together just for drinking. It's not uncommon that happens.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
And that's it for this morning's drive. She's just got to impala, everybody. And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. Become a member. You can gain access to the channel ad-free, you can rewind and re-watch sightings, and you can join our Tuesday live safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every Safari Live episode, whenever you want it. It's just a better way to stay connected to nature.
It's just find the animals, because it's a lot easier for them to fly around, and also they need to feed. The animals or the mammals, as you mentioned, don't need to have the ectoparasites removed every single day. I'm sure they can go a week or two, especially in the winter time, without being groomed, but certainly the birds need to feed every day. So I think it's probably more the birds finding the mammals and not the opposite. There's quite a few Egyptian geese around. They're kind of just in their breeding season at the moment, these guys. And for anyone that has got Egyptian geese in their estate, or possibly they're on a farm, they are so loud when they're breeding. So generally the breeding starts in the middle of our winter, which in the northern hemisphere would be your summer, and it peaks off now around about. So the eggs and everything will be laid, nests will be done, and we'll start seeing goslings fairly soon. Generally speaking, I stand to be corrected, but it normally it takes about a month. Generally, I think it's about 28 to 30 days, I think, if I remember rightly, and they can lay between 1 and I think up to about 25 eggs, but it's normally around about 12, give or take. So there's quite a few goslings, but there's a reason for that. It does sound crazy. You're kind of like, whoa, geez, slow down. Why have you got so many kids? But it's because of the high predation rate of the goslings. So it's very, very common towards the end of the season to see only 2 or 3 of the goslings left. So it's just a natural way of cutting down the numbers. And obviously food, Mother Nature has it all planned out, guys. She has how she manages the food pyramid for the animals, who has more food to give to the other animals, who needs less food. It's everything is in balance, everything is worked out. And even sometimes as guides / game rangers / ecologists, we'll ask the questions or wonder how things are done. Mother Nature has all the answers. She knows exactly what she's doing. And these wildebeest are blue wildebeest, or gnu as they're known in East Africa. And in the Bushman beliefs, in the Bushman hierarchy, they believe that the wildebeest was the last animal to be created by the Creator. And they were just leftovers. So there was some old horns from a buffalo, the eyes of a goat, the sloping back of a hyena, and basically the Creator was just like, sorry man, listen, it's been a busy couple of days. You win some, you lose some, just grab whatever you can find and off you go. And that's kind of how the wildebeest, at least in the Bushman belief system, how they came about. And to be honest with you, if you see one up close, you kind of get it, kind of understand. They are very strange looking animals, very, very odd, but very hardy. They're pretty much immune to every single tick-borne virus that we get out in the bush. And they feed quite low to the ground as well. They'll feed on the roots pretty much, everything from the top of the grass to the roots. So they're quite adaptable. So quite often is if anybody buys or if say for instance South African National Park buys a piece of land that they want to incorporate into the reserve, and they're wanting to do impact assessments on their property, sometimes they'll put a herd of wildebeest on there just as a tester, because first of all they pick up all the ticks and stuff as they move around, but also in terms of the vegetation, what is it like, and then obviously open it up and then the season changes. But they are very, very adaptable creatures and great for game reserves to add in there, just as almost a buffer, especially after there's been a lot of cattle there, just as a buffer before the other animals come into the area. Deb, you're saying it looks like they all have viruses. They all have viruses already, yes. They've got goat eye virus, very common with wildebeest. And I think some of the ladies have got beards as well. So yeah, it does look like things have not worked out too well for our wildebeest friends. But at the same time, as you know, we just love all animals, great and small. Doesn't matter what they look like, we just love them. So I guarantee you, if most of us listening had the opportunity, we would go and give one a massive hug. Sadly, they're just extremely temperamental animals as well. Don't have a lot going for themselves, but they're sweet nonetheless. So now let's do a little bit of birding. So we see we've got some Egyptian geese with some goslings there in the middle. In the foreground, we've got some ducks with their heads down, and you'll see they've got like a white face for Halloween. Those are called white face whistling ducks. And then on the right hand side, we've got a big stork with a yellow bill that's busy fishing. It's called a yellow-billed stork. Again, Theo, very lazy, yellow-billed stork. And then the one at the back that is ferociously swishing around trying to catch a fish is called an African spoonbill. And it looks like he's on the hunt for a fish going around. It just, yeah. It looks like me running around the house looking for my car keys. Where did I put them? Someone moved them. I'm sure someone moved them. I didn't leave them there, and then they end up being in my car or dumped in the garage or something like that. I'm really bad with my cell phone and my keys. I don't know whether any of you guys are the same, but those two things are the bane of my life. I leave them lying everywhere. A beautiful day. We also have some, the lighting is so bad. I think those are red-knobbed coots as well that are coming into the picture, not to be outdone, with the wildebeest moving ahead. What a beautiful, perfect little setup we have here. I've always been a fan of Tower Waterhole, actually. There's always something going on. But you know very well that somewhere lurking in the background will be our crocodilian friends. Guaranteed. They'll be watching all of this activity and thinking, once I have built up a sufficient amount of energy, I will be eating one of you, possibly two, later on this evening, and there's nothing you can do about it, with a big evil laugh. I'm almost positive that is how they sound, at least. Maybe it's just the Halloween theme is still stuck in my head, I don't know. And then also some birds. Two is at the top right hand corner, just on the grass line, by the rocks there. There are some blacksmith lapwings, which used to be called blacksmith plovers or plovers, but are now blackwing lapwings, or blacksmith lapwings, should I say, pardon me. Always around the water. Unlike our striped kingfisher friend, these guys are constantly at the waterhole. So guys, we're going to leave the birding fiesta that is Wild Earth this morning, and we're going to head over and go look for something slightly bigger, just a little bit bigger. See, I told you, just a little, just a smidge bigger than normal. You got this beautiful big elephant bull. Quiet Monday here at Tembe Elephant Park. I'm not going to let my imagination roam wild like I normally do and come up with scenarios of what possibly could be happening that is making it so quiet there. So I will just, hopefully something will appear at some stage. But for now, we have this beautiful bull, and he's also walking around. You can see he's kind of like, what's going on, guys? Where is everyone? It's like, where's Wally? There's Wally there. We've got a grey heron in the water there. How cool would it be if someone's dressed up as Where's Wally out there in the bush somewhere? It'd be an absolute winner. Doing a bit of a scan. Where's everybody? CSR Tembe Elephant Park. Poo everywhere but no elephants. So we're gonna let our zoomies look around and see what's going on here at Tembe. We're gonna go head over now and find some baboons to chat about. Oh, I love this waterhole, man. I love the level of the camera, and there's always baboons here. And here we have some Shakma baboons. Looking very chilled, man. Again, weather looks great. Love the silhouettes. I was on safari not so long ago, and we had some wild dog at a waterhole, and I decided to get cute and thought, hey, I'm going to take some photos of the dogs in the water, the silhouette of them. I mean, it must be a first ever, and it's going to be the most amazing photos. I'm going to put them out there on social media, and fame and fortune will follow. And they were shocking. They were absolutely shocking. Didn't work. It looked more like I took a photo of some weird tree, silhouette of a tree. It just didn't come out well at all, so I've got to work on it a little bit. As we see these baboons having a drinky. You see that female there on the left is on heat. That tissue swelling and the rump area there is a telltale sign that she is ready to mate. Not very subtle, right? Sometimes I do feel sorry for them. But like we were saying at the top of the show, everything is visual with these animals, where it be shape, color, whatever the case may be. These baboons have fairly good eyesight though, very similar to ours. They've got those eyes forward on the head like that, binocular vision. So they have pretty good eyesight actually. They can spot predators from quite far away. So sometimes even if we hear them barking and we drive in or walk in to try and see what's going on, they can see what's going on and we just can't. You know, the predator might be a couple of 100 meters away and we just cannot see it. They've got very, very good eyesight. There's this big male here, huge guy, busy chilling here in the water, showing off. And Gabby, you're saying baboon bums are shocking. Yeah, I know. Especially when the females are in the height of their estrus cycle. It really looks pretty bad, I've got to say. Sometimes you actually feel like just going and putting a pair of shorts on her and just saying, sorry my darling, here, just take these shorts, it's fine. As we move over to camel thorn, to the call of the wild, and hopefully we get that call, as this is called an African fish eagle, very, very similar to the American bald eagle. So if any of our American listeners are watching, we did not steal the bald eagle and post it there for you guys, promise. This is actually our own bald eagle friend called an African fish eagle. And I love the call of these fish eagles. They are absolutely stunning. Beautiful birds. And I brought up the bald eagle. They are actually related to the bald eagle, believe it or not. Even though it's gone so far away, so far north, they are related. And the juveniles of these birds look so different to the adults. They are kind of like a motley black and white color with some brown specks here and there. And it can take up to 5 years for the youngsters to actually develop their full plumage. I see there's some legs at the top of the screen there. I can't quite make out exactly what it is yet. But 4 or 5 years is a long time to wait to get your coloring. And they're called fish eagles, obviously, for obvious reasons. They are very good at catching fish. But I have also seen them take squirrels. I have seen them take other bird species as well. I actually saw one take a jacana. I was looking at the jacana with my binoculars, and just chatting to my guests about the jacanas and their breeding, as there was an impala at the top of the screen. Next minute, George the jacana just disappeared out of sight. He was murdered in front of us. and the fish eagle took him. So these guys are not to be messed around with. They're big birds as well. Got last year's breeding youngsters. As you can see, the horns are growing nicely there for that male. So he'll be close on a year old now. So Erica, I just saw your question come in, seeing as though we are talking about the fish eagle. Thanks for your question. You're asking, are they the biggest of the raptors? So Erica, no. Our biggest raptor is actually the Marshall eagle. They're our biggest of the raptors. They're absolutely huge, the Marshall eagles. And our strongest of all of them is actually the crowned eagles. They are very, very, very strong birds. Luckily, where I live, we actually have a breeding pair that come through every year, and we get to see them every now and again, which is really cool. But yeah, Erica, the Marshall eagle is our biggest, and they have a wingspan of nearly 2.5 meters. That's huge. 2.5 meters is absolutely massive as a wingspan. So they are big birds. And it's not uncommon now, as we go into the breeding season, November and December, for those Marshall eagles to actually take very small impala lambs and other lambs and kill them for food. That is how big they get. And I've also seen a Marshall eagle with a large monitor lizard, or leguan as we call it, as well. So no, they're not to be messed with, let me tell you. They're big birds. And they can fly quite high as well. Got very good eyesight. Yeah, very cool birds, man. But for now, we'll stick to our fish eagle friend. Hopefully we get a Marshall eagle that'll pop through so that we can finish off the conversation nicely. But they are out of their breeding season at the moment. Most of your raptors breed in the winter time, or June, July, for those of you overseas, with it being opposite to you guys. So they are done, and they will they are monogamous, so the males and females will breed together every year in the same nest if they can, depending. So they will start their display flights and everything around the end of summertime, so around about March, maybe going into April. They'll start their display flights, and then the breeding will pick up in towards the middle to the end of April. Things will get real. As you see the impala, and you know, it's so funny. I remember when I was starting out basically with Wild Earth, I was asked to do like just a little send a little excerpt of me talking, just to hear what I would sound like, and I thought, well, let's be honest, we're gonna see impala most of the time. I mean, that's what it's like on game drives. You know, we call impala McDonald's, because there's one around every corner, pretty much, when you're in the game vehicle. So I did my little 1-minute excerpt on an impala, because I thought, well, jeepers, you know, if I can send something on impala and they like it, then it should be game on, because we're going to see so much impala. And honestly, we don't see that much impala. You know, if you think about El Doño and how often we see the oryx and the eland and the zebra, you know, often every now and again we'll have impala kind of moving through the top of the screen, or maybe coming past and having a drink, but it's not often that we actually get impala up this close. At least for me, over the last couple of shows, I can't remember a time where we've had these guys up close and personal. So I actually feel obliged to give you guys a little bit of information on them, because they really are fairly overlooked, because we have so many of them. And because they are so successful, we tend to just drive past them and not really pay too much attention. I'm really hoping that while I talk, we can have a Nat Geo moment and this fish eagle calls, and then you'll understand why it's called the Call of Africa, but it'll just be great. But anyway, so These impala, they're actually beautiful creatures. If you see them in the early morning light or the late afternoon light, they actually are like a 3-tone coloration. They've got that like orange at the top with that kind of light band, and then a white stomach with that white and black striped rump, and they really, really are stunning animals to photograph. And so I find myself quite often actually filming them or taking photos of them just because they just are so beautiful, even though we see them so often. They are very strange. So the rutting season for the males will start in the early year, so around about end of January going into February. And how these guys work is they have essentially 2 herd structures. So they will be a breeding herd, which can be quite big actually. I've seen some massive impala breeding herds, which will be a dominant ram who will have a harem, as we call it, of females. And pretty much every female between the ages of 3 and 8 years old, on average, will breed. So you can imagine then, if in every herd of impala, if all those females are pregnant, just why they are so successful and how tired that ram must be actually as well. But I digress, sorry. So during the rutting season, these guys chase each other around, and they have got this noise that they make. It's like a gurgling. If you heard it and you didn't know what it was, you would think it was a leopard or a lion or something that is calling. It's so guttural and gurgly. I've had guests before go, "Oh my goodness, what is that?" Or "Is that a hippo?" But it's actually these guys, and it's just it's unattractive. That's the easiest way of putting it, because they do it and then they flick their tongue in and out as well. And it's just I don't think it does their reputation any favors by doing this weird thing that they do. And they do this for a good couple of months. They chase each other around almost like burping at each other. And then they run in and take other males' females, and then he's now exhausted, so another male will come in and kick him out. And then generally what will happen is your more experienced males will kind of wait towards the end of the breeding season, when all the younger guys are kind of running out of energy, because they don't eat and drink as much as they should during this period. So they actually fall prey to often leopard at this time of year. The leopard have a field day because these guys are just running around not paying any attention to what's going on. And they just get hammered. So it's quite common at the beginning of the year, coming out of our summertime, to see impala rams hanging in trees, because they're just bombing all over the place and they just don't care. All they're interested in is collecting a harem of females. But those older males then will come in, kick the young ones out, and then will take over the harem. And then mating will begin towards the end of April, early May. Their gestation period is 8 months. And after the 8-month period, they will give birth to one little cherub. And it really is a little cherub. They're very, very cute. But twins are very uncommon. It does happen every now and again. But they are, it is quite uncommon. But what is quite interesting with impala as well, and any of you that have been to Kruger Park may have seen it, is there's a bit of a genetic anomaly at the moment in the central Kruger where there's a few pale impala. So it's almost like a form of albinism, but it's not true albinism. It's actually a melanistic genetic fault almost, where they are a lot lighter. They don't have the blue eyes or the dark eyes at all. But these animals don't stand a chance because they just stand out like a sore thumb in the bush. There's no camouflage whatsoever. So the predators, well, anything dark or anything light, those two kind of extremes of color, that's why you'll notice most of your animals have got a follow me sign. Either it's black or it's white. It's never anything in between. So anything that's black or white stands out more than any other color to these animals. So kind of a melanistic impala just gets taken out almost immediately, unfortunately. But I've seen quite a few of them in the Central Kruger. I don't know whether any of you guys have, but yeah, it's quite interesting. It's been quite a few. I'm missing questions. I'm just banging off here about impala and fishing. It's such a great start to the show, guys. What an awesome way to start the week. It's awesome. So we're going to head over to Aldonio, and then I promise you I will get to some of your questions and get you guys more involved. Okay, it's just been a cracker of a morning.
My name is Amy, and behind the camera with me is Paul. And I mean, to be able to share it with all of you. Fingers crossed, and I'll make sure I wear my lucky leopard socks as well.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
And doing that would almost put an end to my guiding career. Even though I run a lot, stretching is not my forte. As we see a beautiful warthog coming down to have a drink with his butt in the air there. The business end of a warthog is always behind and not in front. And for any of you that have watched Lion King, you'll know exactly what I mean by saying that. What a beautiful view of these two polar opposites of the animal kingdom having a drink together. Don't you wish us humans could get along like this? Actually, let's be honest, for the majority of us, we actually do. We actually do. It's a small minority of people, really, but I think the majority of human beings just want love and peace and just want happiness across the earth, especially us animal lovers. You'll notice animal lovers are always we might not be the most sociable, but we certainly, animal lovers, seem to have an understanding of how the world should be more than anyone else. Some more giraffe coming through. As I'm scrolling through some questions here. You guys are on it today. I love it. Absolutely love it, guys. Thank you so much. Keep it all coming in. I'm going to try to get to all of them if I can. So I have Andrew. Thank you so much for your question. As something has happened there at the waterhole. You're asking, what is my best or most memorable sighting with guests or alone, with family or friends? Andrew, I'm going to need to think about that. Give me 5 minutes, Andrew. Let me think about that. I want to give you the right answer. I don't want to just make something up. Let me think about that and then I'll come back to you. I've been so fortunate and so blessed in my life to be able to guide and spend a lot of time in Southern Africa in various different places. And I've just been, just so blessed with the things that I've seen and the lessons that I've taken away from it, that I've implemented into my own life. Let me have a think about that, I think, and then I'll come back to you. And at Leopard Lover, thank you so much for your question. You're saying, do we call it a baboon hand or a paw? So we call it a hand and a foot on baboon, Leopard Lover. So a paw would be that shape of a cat or a dog or something like that. So the four toes. With that lobe, with the different lobes there, that would be a paw. Generally, we all call it a track. So while you're tracking, you're pretty much looking for any kind of hands, paws, hoofs, whether it be cloven hoofs or we get odd-toed ungulates, even-toed ungulates. Those all fall in the ungulate category. And then, like I said, we've got the hands of our primates and we've got the paws then of our canines and our cats. And also the mongoose as well, we call paws too, and the hyenas. So there's quite a few different things at Leopard Lover, but we call it tracks. And then if we are going to throw, if we're talking about following an animal by using not just its tracks, but also its dung or its feces, we then call it scat. And scat would be a loose term for pretty much all of it. If we're looking for scat, we're looking for any kind of sign of the animal that's around. Even though some people do use it as a term for dung, scat is a loose term for pretty much whatever we're tracking the animal with. And then Steph, thanks so much. Your question just came through. You're asking, are bald and fish eagles the same thing? Just different countries. So they're not the same bird. They are different. The bald eagle is bigger than the fish eagle. Quite a lot bigger, actually. But they are the same family. So they are related, just not the same. As you see, there's a... We were talking about where's Wally earlier on at Tembe. Can anyone see Wally? Because Wally, we've got African Wally on the screen right now. I wonder whether any of you can see screen Wally or African Wally. Chillaxing there. I'll wait for the first person to come with the answer to African Wally that was sitting somewhere on screen earlier before we zoomed in on our stunning, sweet little girl here. You see those ossicles on the top of her head, or horns as some people call them, but they are rightly called ossicles. A little bit thinner with tufts of hair on. That is a telltale sign of a female, same as the one next to her on the left. Males are a lot thicker and bald on top. That's how we're able to distinguish between the two. And Deb, yeah, 100% right. The lonely lost baboon. There he is. There's Wally. There's African Wally right there. Check how he's sitting. Oh man, he looks like so that looks like my son when he sulks. So if I moan at him, currently there's a bit of moaning going on in the Taylor household because it's exam time, and my children would actually rather clean the driveway with a toothbrush than study. So there's been a few times where I've had to exert my dad authority on them. And that is exactly what my son does. He turns his back and he sits like that and he sulks pretty much for 5 or 10 minutes. Like I've just ruined his whole life. He does wear pants though. He's not like this particular baboon that's not wearing pants, thankfully. And then eventually he'll end up studying. My daughter's getting a lot better with the studying, but man, my son can, geez, he can find things to do when it's time to study, man. I mean, you know, anything from trying to read something to building a space rocket he'll do rather than studying. Drives me absolutely nuts. I don't know whether you guys are having the same problem at the moment. Sometimes I feel like exam time can be more stressful to the parents than actually than the kids. Maybe we put too much pressure on them, I don't know. I suppose there's a happy balance. As you see there with those giraffe, that beautiful, we were just talking about the feet. The cloven hoof, as you saw there with that giraffe, which is very indicative of the bovine family or the four-chambered stomach family. So cool just watching them with the oxpeckers flying around, listening. I think that's my most favorite part of my job, is actually just sitting in quiet and stillness, as we say, and just listening to the birds and watching the animals, and it's just, yeah, so nice, so awesome. So Spas, thank you so much for your question. You are asking, as Wally comes back out again, what are the traditional beliefs? Are there any traditional beliefs, should I say, around waterbuck? So that's a very interesting question. So there are, Spas, there are a few beliefs. So in the Bantu traditions, there are, or the Nguni traditions as well, both are interchangeable. Waterbuck are actually believed to be spiritually clean animals, and that's they say the reason they say they spiritually clean or pure animals is because they believe that they're protected by the spirits of the rivers and the lakes, and because they are found near water. They have a lot of wisdom about how life flows, the general flow of life. So they are that belief system is quite strong with some of the different tribes, if you want to call it that, or denominations, and there are some traditional beliefs that you shouldn't eat the meat of the waterbuck, which I know in the Kruger area is quite, with the Shangaan tradition, which is quite interesting. They believe that it's unlucky to eat the meat of the waterbuck, and that generally comes from the waterbuck meat. It's a very, very strong tasting meat. It's got like an oily smell, and it's not the best meat to eat. If you do manage to get a waterbuck, you got to get that skin off very quickly. Otherwise, it actually just spoils the meat. And it's, like I said, it's kind of known as bad luck. Actually, in my area, which is KwaZulu-Natal, in some of the Zulu traditions here, that they believe that you're very desperate or careless if you eat a waterbuck, because it offends the spirits. So, yeah, very interesting question that you asked there, and you picked the right animal as well, because it's one of the animals that has quite a lot of different beliefs, so much so that some of the traditional hunters will actually say we don't go for them because they're protected by the ancestors and they don't want to get any bad luck. Very interesting, right? Very cool. There's definitely something of interest to the giraffe's right, but to our left. There's been 2 giraffe now that have had, you can see the ears pricked forward, fixed stare. There's definitely something out there somewhere. I don't know whether it might be the ellies or possibly other antelope coming in, maybe even a little jackal running around. You never know. You should know me by now. I always come up with these scenarios. My imagination gets the better of me sometimes. So we actually have a very interesting question from Erica. I've been pondering this as well as Andrew's question, Erica. I'm getting some really cool questions today, guys. This is awesome. So Erica, you were saying, seems as though we're on the theme of Halloween over the last weekend. Do I think that Cthulhu was based on an elephant? So that is interesting, Erica. So I know there's no direct evidence. So the author H.P. Lovecraft, I think it's H.P. Lovecraft based it on an elephant, but there's no connection really to it. And I think in the book, Cthulhu is described as a massive, is it a tentacle being? I think it's massive tentacled being of some kind. And I know some of the early sketches, the tentacles looked like a trunk and maybe some tusks, but personally I don't think there was anything elephant-like about it, Erica. I think it probably was more kind of like a mixture maybe of like a dragon and a human, because there was some human aspect to it as well. But yeah, I don't think it would have been elephants at all. But very interesting question. I like that. Very different. I like different questions. Thanks, Erica. That was cool. What is bugging you, girl? So Andrew, I'm gonna go back to your question from earlier. This giraffe just doesn't want to settle. There's definitely something there that I don't think it's anything majorly dangerous, but there's definitely something that is putting this giraffe off drinking. But Andrew, I'm going to go back to your question. You asked what my best, most memorable sighting was, with guests or alone, with family or friends. I think my most memorable sighting was the first time I tracked a lion on foot, I think. So tracking has even as a kid was like an art, and it is an art form, but I built this up in my mind about how if you can track, you can pretty much do anything in the wild, and you'll be the best guide ever. That's kind of how I built it up in my mind. It was one of the first times I had guests with me. As we try and pan around and see what's going on, I wonder whether maybe there's just not some movement in there, possibly even wind. You know, these animals, sometimes just the wind puts them off. But yeah, I was with guests, and when I started my private guiding business, the lodges that I was using were essentially self-catering lodges that I would take over and run as a lodge, essentially, as a private lodge for however many guests I had. And because of that reason, and it wasn't a fully fledged lodge, I had the vehicle, but I had no tracker with me. And I had to track on my own. So while I was out on game drives with guests, I was guiding, but at the same time was looking for any tracks on the floor as well. And we came across tracks, and now I think this had been the third day on a safari, and there was obviously, whenever somebody comes out on safari, one of the first things they want to see is lion, right? And we had no signs of lion for the first 3 days. No tracks, nothing, absolutely nothing. It was like they had literally just disappeared. I was in Greater Kruger Park, and only guides will kind of get this, but there comes a time where you start to think, jeepers, because you want to give the best possible experience to your guests as a guide. That's what you want to do. You really do get down on yourself quite a bit if you're unable to provide the best possible sightings as possible. You know, as you get older and you get wiser, you realize that, you know, when you're in Greater Kruger and it's, you know, 5 million acres, that, you know, just seeing lions is a miracle, let alone anything else. But when you're a young guide, you kind of just want to, you dress to impress, and you want to impress full time. And I found tracks of these lions. And I was like, okay, so I said to the guests, listen, these tracks go into a drainage line, and that drainage line goes into the river. And I said to them, it's going to be too dangerous for me to take you guys in there. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to do it at breakfast, after breakfast. So we went back to the lodge, had breakfast, and I got back in the vehicle, went back to the spot, got out on foot, and tracked these lions. And I think I was on foot for probably just over an hour, trying to find these lions. And as lion prides do, they move around a lot, so they don't just walk in one direction. You know, some lie down and then some walk back to a point to fetch others or to play, and then they turn around and go on. And then sometimes they hunt, and some of the females peel off, and then the hunt doesn't work quite well, and they come back. So you can imagine trying to follow one particular track doesn't really work. You need to try and at least find an idea of who to follow. You get better at it as we hear the guinea fowl calling now on screen. You get better at it as you get older. But yeah, I'm now looking for these lions, and eventually I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to follow this male lion's track, and I'm going to go see whether he maybe had joined up with the pride. So I've followed this track, really nice tracks, perfect sand. Finally, this giraffe has decided to drink. Awesome. I'm so glad he actually got a nice drink of water, and he's slurping this down big time. Check that. Nice. It's like the first beer on a weekend. Yes. And I followed those lion tracks, and I came into a little bit of a clearing, a sodic area, and I just heard this like very low guttural noise. And any guide will tell you straight away, you know what that means. You've now walked into a lion's bubble. And now you're waiting for a charge. So I hear it and I stop, and I'm now trying to see where it is, what's happened. And I turn and I see this male lion that I've been tracking. I didn't see him. He was lying behind a termite mound. And now he's walked out a little bit. Now he's staring at me. And let me tell you something. When a lion stares at you, they don't stare at you. They stare inside you. They stare right through your eyes into your soul. And they almost challenge you on a prehistoric level. And a very, very deep level. They almost try and figure out who you are, and whether you have the guts to do the job that you're doing. And this guy gave me a shocker as we move over now to Mantis. Of a look. I mean, we've got beautiful our rhino coming through. And I stared at this lion, Andrew, what felt like for 10 minutes, but it was probably only for about 45 seconds, less than a minute. And he turned, walked off, went over to a tree, which all the lions were lying underneath, but was accessible with the vehicle. So I got to see the lions later on with the guests. But that first lion encounter, with that male lion, and he wasn't far from me, he was about 10 meters from me, having that exchange with that male lion on foot, and almost like nature putting me in my place and just reminding me not to get too cocky, that there are things out there that I don't even understand and know about yet, was probably, it's something I'll never ever forget. It was wonderful. And even though I needed to visit the laundry afterwards, it was phenomenal. I'll never ever forget it. So thanks for that question.
This unfolds in front of you.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
The zebra, so it's a hindgut fermentation system. They do absorb more food than, or at least more nutrients than elephants do, although their digestive system is not the greatest. They certainly do absorb a little bit more than the elephants do. Andrea, thank you so much for your question. Now, I'm wondering if this is my Andrea or a different Andrea. Because the question is, have you ever bent the truth with guests? It would be something that my Andrea would ask. But if it is not my Andrea, it's a different Andrea. Andrea, thank you very much for the question. So, Andrea, I was very, very fortunate to be trained by a guy named John Locke, who was a legend in Zimbabwe. Not only as a guide, but also as a trainer. But he was a no-nonsense kind of guy. And you had to really earn your stripes with this guy. He took no nonsense. And one of the first lessons he taught us was, if you don't know, you're going to get asked questions in your whole guiding career. He said even in his time, and he'd been guiding for well over close to 30 years at that stage. He said even to this day I get asked questions sometimes that I don't know. And he said you actually have to be confident enough to say I don't know, and then endeavor to try and find out and get back to that guest. So I was taught very early on to just be honest with the guests, and it has stood me in good stead because, like I said at the top of the show, guests have so much access to AI now, and internet on a whole, social media. If you tell a little fib, you're going to get found out 100%, and it just does your credibility no good whatsoever. So sometimes I know some guides find it difficult to put their hands up and say I don't know, because it feels like you have been defeated. But I tell you, every year in the summertime there's a new flower that comes up. I don't know what it is. My secret is normally, if I don't know what it is and it's yellow, I just call it it's a yellow Nerodia, because it's yellow and it's near the road here. And then I have a giggle with the guests and I just say, no, actually, I don't know what it is, but I'll try and figure out what it is. So every now and again, it's fine to even make a joke of it, and just be confident that you'll be able to figure it out later on. As we see this rhino, looks like she wants to make a little wallow for herself. There we go. Oh, I think she lay on a beach ball because I heard something deflate. That poor goose was nearly blown out of the water. Some little Egyptian geese or goslings floating around there. I think the last time I was here there were 3 of them with mom and dad. I just see 2, but there might be one floating around earlier. Well, in front, should I say, pardon me. This is just so, you don't understand how lucky you are to see this. Even on, I get to guide in areas where there still are quite a few rhino around, but to be able to sit and watch them, mother and a youngster just chilling together in the water here, so relaxed and chilled. Oh man. Every time I do Wild Earth with you guys, I'm always reminded how lucky I am to do the job that I do, and how fortunate we are to be able to have these animals, and to have access to them, guys. Any South Africans that are listening, I mean, how fortunate are we to have relatively inexpensive access to this? Oh, shame, Mommy, I'm really sorry. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Being a mom is not easy, let's be honest. Oh, jeez. Poor mom. Luckily it didn't sit on the horn. That would have been interesting. Anyway, let me get to some questions. Erica, thank you again for another question. I appreciate it. You're asking how old do giraffes get? So generally speaking, Erica, their average lifespan is about 20-25 years in the wild. There are a few older specimens that you get in Kruger National Park that are sitting at around that 25-year mark, but you can see a very, very old giraffe. But many of them don't make that lifespan, Erica. They either get taken out by lions or drought, disease. Females also tend to live longer than males too. Because the males fight quite a lot and they risk injuring their necks and breaking vertebrae when they swing their necks and hit each other. So I think this calf wants to drink, and mom is just like, no, sorry, I'm taking a 10-minute break. I'm not adulting. I actually just want to relax. You sat on me. You're now going to be disciplined. Which I don't think is a bad stance to take. What an awesome sighting. Oh wait, here we go again with the butt attack. Just sitting and listening to this and watching it is just so cool, man. Oh, anyway, Greg. Hello, Greg. Thank you very much for your question. Greg is asking us, are hippos pachyderms? So, Greg, no, they're not. They used to be termed as a pachyderm back in the day, because essentially the term pachyderm means thick-skinned animal. It's a Greek term for thick-skinned animals. And so they used to group elephants, rhinos, and hippos together as these big, grey, kind of tough-skinned, thick-skinned animals. But this was all before modern genetics and biology happened, to which then modern science turned around and said, well, we need to kind of break that term pachyderm up a little bit and put them into orders. In taxonomy, we have different orders of animals. And hippos then were put into the order Artiodactyla, which means even-toed ungulates, because they've got 4 toes. And actually, with genetic testing, they actually have more in common and are more closely related to whales than to elephants and rhinos, funnily enough. So modern genetics has kind of split them off into that level. And then rhinos obviously being put into Perissodactyla, which is odd-toed ungulates, which puts them into the same order as horses due to their foot structure. So yeah, interesting. It's hippos are basically bush whales, which are quite cool. So Teresa, you're saying we used to put up fences to keep ourselves safe, but now we put fences up to keep animals safe from us. It's very true. It's a tough one, Teresa. You know, the conservation battle is a constantly evolving battle. You know, it's not easy. You know, with South Africa's unemployment rate, it's very, very difficult for communities living on the edge of a wildlife area to say to them that they cannot catch their own meat when they're starving. And so, subsistence poaching is very, very common. And they are, especially along the boundaries of Kruger National Park, there are anti-poaching units that walk through and they pick up hundreds of snares a week. And when I say hundreds, I mean hundreds. There's a section of fence line between two gates in Kruger Park. One is called Penny Gate and the other is called Paul Kruger Gate. And there's a section of fence line that's fairly close to the community. And the anti-poaching units pick up thousands and thousands of snares on a yearly basis in that area. It's not an easy fix because when you're starving you are desperate. I know there are some reserves that will tolerate a little bit of subsistence poaching in return for information for guys that are coming in using similar kind of holes in the fences and going in and looking for rhino in particular, but also the most trafficked animal in the world, which is the scaly anteater, or the pangolin. And so sometimes they actually even help them, and we'll leave them kind of over. But yeah, it's a difficult one, Teresa. It's like I said, it's evolving all the time, and it's not an easy conversation to have because there's pros and cons for everything, and it would be I could sit and talk on this subject for 2 hours straight. It's very close to my heart. Oh, cute. Check this out. Oh, Piggy lost. Oh, very cute, man. How's that for an awesome interaction? The rhino's thinking, what's wrong with these little rhino? Why are they hairy and they look so strange, Mom? What's wrong with them? Have they got a growth problem? Some more rhino at the back there as well. He's chasing him off. This is my mom's hollow, so you just get lost till we leave. Cute, man. So guys, we're going to leave our chubby unicorns and we're going to head over to Victoria Falls while these guys relax, and baby hopefully gets a drink, which Mom doesn't look too keen on offering at the moment. Oh, cool, man. So we've got some vulture activity here, and we've got a marabou stork as well in the water. Nice hooded vultures there. Or the toothpicks of the bush, as we call them. Grace, you were saying, I can't believe that's a giant fingernail on their face. Yes, that's exactly what a rhino horn is. It is a giant fingernail. Many medicinal uses, apparently. Who are we to judge traditional medicine, I guess? But yeah, it's a massive fingernail. We've got some kudu that have come in now, young male as well, almost fully grown. And we've got some impala trying to make a guest appearance. I think they're just happy that they were spoken about on Live at the Waterhole for once in their lives. And kudu are beautiful animals. Love them. Part of the spiral-horned antelope family. Bushbuck and Inyala fall into the same family. They really are stunning animals with those nice curved horns. Very relaxed antelope as well. Very, very uncommon to see an aggressive kudu. Very, very mild-mannered creatures. Although I have seen two males have a real go at each other once or twice, so they can unleash the fury if they need to, but generally speaking they're very, very relaxed. See those white stripes in the eyes there, just to reflect more light into the eyes, which is very common with your with some of your animals. And then those beautiful white stripes on the back, and their follow me sign is they actually curve their tail up like a deer would do. So when they run away, they curve it up, and that flash of white is what the youngsters will follow, and the rest of the herd will follow. And we've got the toothpicks of the bush. Hello, my darling. My daughter just got home from from her exam. How did it go?
It was fine.
Did you pass?
Absolutely.
Yes, one down. Welcome, babe. You can do the last 20 minutes with me. Any interesting animal things that you have? Would you like to point out anything on screen?
The impala has very sharp horns.
Oh, jeez. Wow, babe. I think you've just blown away the country with your amazing wit.
Oh, no.
Anyway, guys, sorry for that. I was going to talk to you guys about the vultures on screen. So you can just see there on the right-hand side, those are the hooded vultures. So like I said earlier, that we call them the toothpicks of the bush. And they're a really good kind of indicator for us as walking guides as to what a kill would be, the point at which a kill is at, should I say. If you're driving along and you see vultures dropping down, and it's generally a lappet-faced vulture or a white back vulture or even a cape vulture, you know that there is still meat on the kill, and quite often that means that there are predators close by. So seeing those birds in the tree while we're walking, we won't go into that area with guests, because obviously animals can be quite aggressive when they've got food around, so we don't go in. But these guys, these hooded vultures and white-headed vultures as well, because they are, we call them the toothpicks of the bush, they are the ones that are at the kill at last, basically. So they are the ones that clear up all the meat between basically the intercostal muscles between the ribs, and just the little bits, scraps of meat here and there, and that's really just to stop any diseases or anything forming. So vultures as a whole, as an order, can basically get rid of a carcass all on their own, starting from the very big one, which is the lappet-faced vulture, all the way down to our toothpicks here. Each vulture has got a role at the kill and will literally strip. I saw a buffalo, a male buffalo, get stripped within 24 hours down to just the skeleton, just with vultures, no other predators around. He died of old age or possibly a virus or a disease, and the vultures came in and it was just game over. It was unbelievable to watch, and to see how many of them come in from nothing. You don't see any of them flying around, and then all of a sudden you just get massive flocks of them flying in, and it's quite hectic. And with these ones in particular, these hooded vultures, you can see that their face goes bright pink when they get excited. And that will also tell us if there's meat on the ground or not, as we see two kudu having a sparring match. That's not anything aggressive there. There's just two young males having a bit of a wrestle. I'm sure we'll zoom out at some stage. You can hear the horns clashing a little bit there. But beautiful hooded vulture, stunning hooded vulture. And then Rachel, thank you so much. You said when you were in South Africa, your guide told you about how the kudu got its name, and basically you're saying the kudu got its name because it involved the clapping of its testes together. Please tell me that he was joking. Yes, Rachel, he was absolutely joking. That is certainly not how the kudu got its name. So it doesn't go kudu kudu kudu, as my daughter is having a chuckle here. Sorry, babe, it's R-rated. Please leave the room. But no, Rachel, that is not how the kudu got its name, I promise. That is just a guard's sordid sense of humor. Isn't it beautiful? Check that one having a bit of a scratch with its horns there, having a wrestle. Now, it's I wouldn't say it's common, but sometimes when the males are having a real go at each other for breeding rights, their horns can actually get caught up, and they actually get stuck and die because they can't get out of the lock with each other. Funny enough, it happened fairly recently on one of the Kruger forums I'm on. There was up north, northern Kruger, there were two males that got locked and actually died of starvation. So it does happen from time to time. You can imagine those spirals, if you get it locked in, it can be quite severe. Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh, guess there's a leopard. I've got a leopard here. My name is Cedric, and behind the camera with me we've got Muscles and Paul. Well, it is Feline Friday.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Oh, she's gonna catch it.
Come on, Tommy.
Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am. We are here with a male leopard.
Away. So I hope you're having the same weather as they've got there, although I know you guys have just come out of a very, very hot October, so hopefully you've got air conditioning or something happening there, Cindy, so I know it gets very, very hot there in October. And we just got a message coming through from Erica. Erica, you're saying, have you heard of the new Big Five? Erica, no, I actually have not heard of the new Big Five. You will have to enlighten us as to what the new Big Five are. I eagerly await your message here, Erica. Let me know what's happening as we've panned around to some female kudu in Africa. For any of our northern hemisphere friends that are out there, In Africa, sexual dimorphism for animals is males carry horns, females do not. There is a few differences, obviously, like your wildebeest, your buffalo, but generally speaking, the males carry the horns. So we're not, these are not deer. Deer have got antlers, which the males shed after the breeding season. Our antelope do not shed their antlers. They have fixed horns, which are basically extensions of the skull, covered in a keratin sheath, and they carry them throughout their life. The beautiful bull at the back there, stunning guy. Check out those beautiful horns. And I love, look, see that female kudu in the front there? It looks like she's just had a big tall glass of cold milk. Oh, that sounds like a good idea, actually. So I see the new big 5 of wildlife photography. Erica, I don't know whether you sent this in, I'm not sure. The new big 5 of wildlife photography. So people around the world have voted for the new big 5. And these are basically the most, what people enjoy taking photos of the most, which animals are the most photogenic. And polar bears are one, lions, gorillas, tigers, and elephants. That's the new photography big 5. That's interesting. I've never heard of that before in my life. And I've only taken 2 photos of, well, at least with the 2 animals. I've only got lions and elephants with photos. Sadly, gorillas I'm missing. Tigers, I would need to travel to Asia. And polar bears, I've got one guest of mine, a German guest, Marco, who is big into sailing, and he sails up around the North Pole, kind of the Arctic area. And he tells me that polar bears are extremely dangerous, and you've got to be very, very careful of them. So I'm guessing when you take photos of them, it's from the comfort of a boat or something like that, I'm guessing. Although I'd love to see a polar bear in real life. It must be amazing. As we've got these guys still having a little bit of a joust. And this is important, guys. This is the kudu don't have a strict breeding season. The females will try and kind of have come into estrus at a similar time, so that they can have the youngsters at the same time. They don't generally have a season like the impala would have with the rutting season, and their herd structure is also different to, well, very similar to the impala, should I say, pardon me. It's just the male kudu do not hang around with the breeding herd. So the male kudu will go in, he will mate, and he walks off. And he either goes off on his own, or he will join a group of bachelors. And it will be a bachelor herd until they pick up that another female is an estrus, in which case then they will fight. So this jousting that is happening is one, just a test of strength between the males, so that I think I mentioned it on the last show, the animals don't like having major fights because the threat of injury is quite severe, obviously. So they would much rather not get into a fight if possible, so this jousting that is happening now is very good for when females come into estrus, because obviously a very big male that has kind of stamped his authority will be left alone. They also go on visual cues, so how big the horns are, how big the kudu are. The kudu can get over 300 kilograms, the males. They are very big animals, especially greater kudu, which are bigger. And it's not often that they'll fight because of those visual cues, but 2 evenly sized males with evenly sized horns will have a go at each other. So this jousting is just almost, it's fun, but also there's there's an element of, hey, listen, you know, next time there's a female in estrus, don't mess with me, otherwise you're going to have problems. You can see they're feeding on the trees there. Kudu are browsers, so they will feed on leaves, and some people see them feeding on the ground as well, but that's mostly when flowers drop from the trees or the leaves fall from the trees. I have seen them eating buffalo grass, which is a highly nutritious grass species. I have seen them feeding on that, so they do have their little times where they will graze, but they are predominantly browsers. They feed on the leaves of the trees there. And the last man standing, check how proud he is. So Olivia, this would be the kid at school that didn't finish his exam. And he's like, oh no, let me rewrite.
No, but I thought you said he was proud, so wouldn't he be
Well, he's proud, but I'm saying it just reminds me of some of the kids that that you've told me about that have had just a bad exam.
Yeah.
So we got about 4 minutes left, guys. I'm going to answer one more question. Jimmy, your question just came in. When was the last time I saw a porcupine? So Jimmy, I guide a lot in the Classerie, and so I see porcupine quite often if it's really hot, and I say to the guests, listen, let's not do an afternoon drive, let's maybe have an early dinner, and we'll go on like a 2-hour night drive. We are quite fortunate enough actually in the Classerie to see the porcupine moving around. They are Africa's largest rodents as well. They are huge compared to the porcupine that you get in the northern hemisphere. They're absolutely massive, and they're actually stunning. Really good swimmers, actually, funnily enough. I don't think a lot of people realize, because their quills are hollow, they're actually buoyant and they can swim really well. I've seen porcupine swimming across a river, the Olifants River, like an Olympic swimmer. It was quite amazing to watch. And then one more, Erica. Thank you so much Erica, you've been amazing today. Thank you for all your questions and comments. You are viewer of the day, Erica. Thank you so much. You said you once saw a pink pelican at Chingwetsi. Is that normal? Yes, Erica. So they do move around, the pelicans. I have seen pelicans in Kruger before. I've even seen pelicans in Hawangi as well. So they do get around a bit. And aren't they just stunning, Erica? Aren't they just the most beautiful birds, those pink pelicans? I actually got a really nice photo of one in Maremi in May. I actually need to post that picture. I think it's somewhere in my folder. Somewhere in my big folder of pictures, babe.
Bad pictures.
What? How could you chew me on live TV?
Just did.
Sheesh, how aggressive. Can you believe it, guys? Live television, my daughter just tunes me like that. So guys, we've got a couple of minutes left. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back on Friday. But of course, we have a team of amazing presenters and tech guys that'll keep you going for the rest of the week, as well as our morning and afternoon drives to keep you guys busy and in the know. We really do appreciate you guys. You guys make what we do. You give us a purpose, and we love sharing all of the sightings with you guys and talking to you guys, and we love it when you guys get involved. So thank you so much to all of you for an amazing 2 hours. It always goes so quickly, doesn't it? And what a place to finish off at Victoria Falls. If you guys have never been to Vic Falls, make sure that you go there. And Wild Earth Travel have the means and the guides to make sure that you get there and have the most amazing time, especially if you can make it towards the end of summer going into winter when the flow is at its peak. you certainly will not miss out on an amazing experience. So guys, from myself, Sean, thank you so much. From Olivia, she says thanks too.
Thank you.
Be well, guys. Much love to all of you.